All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Facebook Live. My name's Jesse Mechling. I'm the Director of Education at the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown, Mass. This is an encore version of my Cool Marine Animal series. So this week I'm talking about four more animals in the series. And today's animal is a species of cetacean. It's a large whale species. It's a species that I first saw over 3 decades ago in Baja and did not see until relatively recently here on Cape Cod. It's a species that's actually become a somewhat frequent visitor to the Cape during the early spring. And it's the only whale species up into a lone spout yesterday that I saw from one of the beaches that I've seen all year. It's only whale species that I actually saw part of the whale. Um, it is one of the largest of all whale species, but actually one of the littlest known because of confusion with other species, which we'll talk about. And our aerial survey team this year, our right whale aerial survey team has photographed a number of these whales, some great photos that are in this presentation. And in many photos, they're actually in very close proximity to North Atlantic right whale. So really interesting. And the whale that I'm talking about is a baleen whale. It's a mostly plankton eating whale called the sei whale. So let's get started with the presentation. So sei whales, um, um, the Society for Marine Mammalogy actually classifies two subspecies of sei whales, a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere sei whale. The sei whale, the sei in sei whale comes from the Norwegian word for pollock, a type of fish. Norwegians, I think it's Seye, S-E-Y-E. The Norwegians observed that sei whales and pollock tended to arrive in the same areas at the same time every year, most likely chasing the same food as sei whales eat small plankton. The words in the scientific name mean winged whale and northern, so northern winged whale. As I mentioned, there's two considered to be two subspecies. They are a species of mystacete or baleen whales, and of that, they are in the rorqual family. So that includes blue whales, fin whales, Brutus whales, which it's pronounced bride. It's written brides whales, it's pronounced Brutus whales, and humpback whales. They are listed endangered by the IUCN, as all the species are this week, and they are one of the largest species. I have a little asterisk here because in um, different places that I looked up, including Encyclopedia of Marine Mammals that I have, they are listed as the fourth largest species. In other places, the fifth largest species. One place I found the third largest species, and in other places, the seventh largest species. Um, from my best estimate, they are smaller than blue whales, fin whales, um, North Pacific right whales, and possibly sperm whales. So roughly around the fourth to fifth largest of the whale species, slightly larger than humpbacks, although um, other information I found had them being smaller than humpbacks. But they're a large whale nonetheless, and they are found as many species of baleen whales around the world. They're distributed around the world, but their distribution is somewhat poorly understood, partly due to the confusion over many years between sei whales and Brutus whales, and more recently, the newly, relatively recently identified Omora's whale. Um, it's hard to distinguish between Brutus whales and sei whales at sea, and so it's not known how much of their distribution in the Indo-Pacific, how if those are mostly Brutus whales that are being seen or sei whales. Um, but sei whales inhabit all the world's oceans. They prefer to stay out of the truly polar waters, sticking to more temperate areas. Um, like other great whales, they prefer to spend summer feeding in cooler waters and migrating to warmer waters to breed and give birth in the winter, whether that's the winter in the northern hemisphere or winter in the southern hemisphere. These whales occur in somewhat unpredictable patterns, being seen regularly in one area for several years, and then after which they largely disappear. Perhaps that's what's happening here on Cape Cod. We have been seeing I know sei whales for the past number of years. I've seen them. I've witnessed them myself for the past number of years. Um, Perhaps we were in a time when they're hanging out here, and but we don't know how long, or perhaps this is where they'll stay for a while. So there's a lot not known about these animals, but one of the reasons why Cape Cod was one of my top 5 destinations for seeing marine wildlife is this is another species that you can see from shore here. So pretty cool. Um, Sei whales vary in size in the 2 hemispheres. So despite whether they're the third largest species of whale or fifth largest or seventh species of whale, they are large. They're streamlined, very similar to other rorquals like blue whales and fin whales. And in the southern and northern hemispheres, their size is distinct, with smaller whales being found in the northern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, they reach lengths of 17.1 meters or 56 feet for males, and up to 18.6 meters or 61 feet for females. As in baleen species of whales, rorquals, the females are larger. While in the southern species, males can reach lengths of 18.6 meters or 61 feet, so the same size as females in the northern hemisphere, and females can reach lengths of 19.5 meters or 64 feet. So that 19.5 meters would put them at the third largest, or just tied for the third or fourth largest cetacean species. They are, despite their size, they're also one of the fastest cetacean species. And can reach speeds of up to 50 kilometers or 31 miles per hour or 27 knots over very short distances. I've read that they're referred to sort of as the cheetahs of the sea, that they can have quick, short bursts but tire very quickly. The whale is not a very deep diver, usually going only down for 5 to 15 minutes, so they're not very deep diving whales. Sei whales are usually observed in groups, or I should say they're usually observed alone or in small groups of 2 to 5 individuals, but there have been observations of up to 60 individuals in one spot in highly dense areas of feeding. The average sei whale consumes about 900 kilograms or 2,000 pounds of food per day. They are primarily plankton eaters. They feed on small copepods, which are small crustaceans, the same food that North Atlantic right whales are feeding on, which is perhaps why they were seen in the similar areas this spring by our aerial team, and krill, small shrimp. They also feed on small schooling fish and squid, as many other whales do. They generally, when they're consuming copepods or other types of plankton, they generally skim feed, which is something that whales like right whales do, but not other rorqual whales tend to engage in. But they will also lunge feed like other rorqual whales. So they involve both types of feeding when chasing different types of prey, which is pretty interesting. So it's pretty diverse, their type of feeding. Both males and females, it's thought, reach sexual maturity around age 9. And similar to other baleen species, mating takes place in temperate subtropical waters during the winter months, whether that's in the northern or southern hemisphere. Females give birth every 2 to 3 years to a single calf, and gestation takes place between 10.5 months to a year. It's not that well understood. Calf is weaned from 6 to 9 months after birth, usually in the feeding grounds, as with other baleen species of whales. And when the calf is roughly 8 to 9 meters in length, or 26 to 29 feet long. Now, during the whaling era, these whales were heavily hunted. During the 20th century, where most whaling, I'm not sure if folks are aware, but most whaling took place actually during the 20th century, where close to 3 million large whales were killed. Whalers first targeted blue whales, as they were the largest. As they became scarce, they targeted fin whales, and as they became scarce, they targeted sei whales. So sei whales were a target for whalers. It's estimated that over 300,000 of them were killed during the 20th century alone, mostly in the southern hemisphere, for their meat and oil. There's an estimated 80,000 sei whales left in the world today, which is larger number compared to our 1,500 Galapagos penguins, but they are still considered to be endangered by the IUCN. That population estimate is thought to be about a third of what it was before the height of whaling in the late in the 1900s and late 1800s. It's thought that these animals can live up to 65 years of age, but as we know, with these large whale species, perhaps they can live longer, as we're finding out. And as with any large species of whale, major threats include ship strikes, entanglement of fishing gear, and noise pollution. Although ship strike, or I should say, fishing gear entanglement seems to be less of an issue for these streamline whales, like sei whales, as compared to North Atlantic right whales and humpback whales that have a preponderance for getting entangled. Since they're filter feeders and feed on small organisms, plastic ingestion is certainly an issue. While not much is known in this species, there have been a number of studies looking at fin whales and plastic ingestion by fin whales, which is quite high in some areas. So it's certainly possible, as a similar type of whale, that they also ingest amount of plastic. And interestingly, in 2015, over 300 sei whales were found dead in fjords in Chile, which was thought to be a result of ingestion of red tide or harmful algal blooms, a toxic type of phytoplankton. And this was thought to have occurred, a huge bloom was thought to have occurred off the coast of South America due to warming surface waters. This is an aspect caused by climate change that we haven't really discussed when we're talking about other species in the series. The possibility of more toxic seas, more red tide blooms or harmful algal blooms, and the effect on these large species, which we know can die from consuming large amounts of them. So that is all for today. I'll end with the picture of the whale that I saw this April. And I hope you've enjoyed learning about the sei whale. I will be back again tomorrow for Friday edition of Cool Marine Animals That I Have Seen, Encore edition. And I hope you can join me. So stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for joining in today. Hope you can join in tomorrow, and have a great afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.